nothing to it. Go ahead and bring Goliath on. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you, I'm wrong, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconcile bond, so ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Keeping it true to form 10 L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those farewell to your opinions. Know that he is something. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that though. Here we go. I'ma show you who I am unbreakable. I'm a big gun, but still watch me escape.
And we are pleased to be here on this special edition of Championship League Weekend here on League Night. Hi, your host for this portion of the show, Kevin O'Kelly, coming to you live from Chicago. And for this special League Diplomatie Francophone virtuelle. I hope I didn't butcher that. David Hood is our resident expert in French speaking, but I've got two excellent diplomacy players here to help me with this broadcast here. First, a recent champion not long ago of National DipCon here in America. We've got Adam Silverman. Adam, welcome.
Thanks, Kevin. Always exciting to be calling the game for a championship.
And you're a regular on League Night, and we've got coming over from not in France, but in nearby France, and a helper on the big broadcast for VDL's top board, Robert Chupa. Robert, welcome.
Hello, salut, guten Tag.
Salut. Bonjour, mes amis. We are coming to you ready to talk about a top board. Top boards is the magic of January in diplomacy. The pressure is on for folks who have not qualified for DBNI yet. These players have played a lot of league games, virtual games, so everyone has met the qualification for playing virtually, but we might not see them as far as DBNI points. So this is everyone's last chance to get there. Adam, I know that you qualified last year, but didn't make the virtual requirement. You didn't go in needing points, but what's it like when you're playing, let's say, an old Grand Prix fashion, when you're needing to scrap out those last points?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different in the virtual because it's a league that's ongoing opportunities. Grand Prix, for those who don't know, was an old system that was used simply for face-to-face tournaments, and I think it was capped at going to 4 tournaments. Your scores from your best 4 tournaments, and maybe some partial score for the other ones. But it was really you have to play to qualify, right? And much like for the DBN, you got to play your games to qualify. So we're seeing that here, but playing isn't enough. You got to have some results, and somebody's going to have a result today.
Yeah, and Robert, when you kind of weed out those 8, 9, and 10 players, that bubble spot is the hardest to come in. When you're going to be looking at these players in a few minutes, what's the tough point thinking about? Oh man, I want to work my way up from like an 8th or 9th to a 4th or 5th, so I'm not at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure is up. Usually towards the end of a season, you have more deal making of saying, hey, we could make something happen where we both make it into the top 7, these kind of things. Some players like to do that. Some players think, okay, this is extra pressure, so I'll just gonna have to take as many centers as I can and try to take it all for themselves. So it's really a different mode of play, and different people approach it differently, but it's usually interesting to witness, I would say.
But let's step back a minute, Kevin, because obviously many of these players want to make it into the DBNI, but we're talking about the French League Championship today. And there's only one thing that matters right now to these 7 players, and that's topping their board.
So in a top board situation, we're going to take a look at the standings here for a second. Let's see if I can overlay them properly. Oh no, I got your guys' face under there. Well, let's pretend that you guys are hidden here. Here is the list of how they got there. So you see some pretty impressive scores. We'll get to the Dipcast and we'll get the scores on there in a moment. But I just want to show some of the breakdown of these scores. A couple of 61, 59, 61. you can see that, some of the maybe well-known players like Lay and Nicolas, who we've seen a little bit on DVN in other tournaments outside of the French league, you see some big scores here for Christophe and Brieuc. What's that? When you put up those numbers coming in, how do you have to defend yourself?
Well, it's great to do that, right? To get your foot in the door, but none of that matters today, right? All that matters today is how you can do against these 6 other players. And, we've seen top boards where somebody gets to 11, 12, 14 centers, but that's not the norm, right? This is C Diplo 1907 game. You're not looking to get to 14 centers. You're looking to get to 1 more center than the person behind you.
Yeah, from a balance of power perspective, Robert, so the drawing was a random drawing. It's not Paris method like we see in some of the American-based top boards. With a random drawing, do you want to get a France or a Russia to get that early lead? Or for balance of power, would your preference, if this was you, would you rather be a central power to kind of scope things out and figure out, okay, where's my attack need to be?
Well, generally speaking, I think France is always a good place to be. Not only when you're playing in the French league. My personal opinion is that in these kind of situations where you have a time-capped game, a top board situation, probably the central powers are a bit better than in other games because it's less likely that people will just run to the line and crush you in between 2 big alliances. Things we often see with Germany, for example, happening in league or tournament early round games, because you have EF on the one side and then AIR on the other side, and Germany is just screwed. It's unlikely that alliances will last for such a long time that they just meet in the middle at the stalemate line. So probably there is an added benefit to countries like Russia, Austria, Germany, because they can influence that many parts of the board. So I wouldn't be too sad to get one of those on a top board, really.
Yeah, and we're seeing, and again, we've shown, I think this might be our third or maybe even 4th broadcast for LDFv this season for the 2022 league. We've seen some of these names before. I know Christophe, Brieuc, Loic, Lay, and Steve. We've seen a lot on there. I don't know if I've covered any of Nicolas' French games, and I don't know Thomas. So we'll see. I think I missed all of the French broadcasts this year, but. You see some of the results. Nicolas had 1 board and a shared top. It got him there. But Brieuc had, 60% tops in 5 games. So these players know how to top. Steve, who won the, I'm trying to say this right, the Championship du Monde Francophone back in March. So he doesn't have a top board in the league, but he's got a French title under his belt in 2022. So I'm excited to get there. Let's see if we can see where these players randomly drew. And we've got Brieuc Thibault in Austria. We've got Steve Personini in England, Loic Bourget in France, Nicolas Sahuguet in Germany, Lee Sarlinen in Italy, Christophe Bourget in Russie, and Thomas Seberan. Sorry.
Seberan.
Yeah, there you go. We'll trust Robert's pronunciation in Turkey. So, Adam, when you see this board, the biggest name is right in the center. Is he a target to start?
It's a top board, right? So it's hard to say that there's going to be specific targeting. I mean, I think that he will make people nervous if he, for example, builds 3 in 1901. So I'd be shocked if Nicolas does something along those lines. He's a savvy player and knows how to play on top boards and any board he's on. So I don't think he's going to be any more of a target than anyone else, but I think people will be watching him very closely and be playing a balance of power to ensure that he's not getting off to a strong start, whether that be by centers or by position.
Yeah, and if Robert, if you're not, let's say we're making predictions here, and we don't know who won or any of the strategies going in. Usually with some of the championships, we get some interviews, we get some insight. But if it's not Nicolas, based on these positions, Who might you guess topping this board?
One player I want to point out who is, I think, probably as experienced as Nicolas is Christophe Borja. He might not have had that much international success in the sense that he hasn't won a World DipCon, but he's super successful in the French hobby, and I think also in some of the international tournaments. And he's been around for a long time, so I think he's just as much a heavy hitter as Nicolas, and I could see him take this home just as easily as Nicolas.
Do we know if there's a relation between the two Borgets on this board?
There is.
Father and son, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Far out.
So to be honest, I think it's good for them that they are that far apart. I mean, obviously, I don't know the family Borja, but from most families I know where two people are into competitive gaming, usually they are the biggest rivals. So I think if they were seated next to each other, the chance would be high that they jump at each other's throats. So probably their chances are better by being in France and Russia and having lots of space in between them.
Adam has played against the Woodring family many times and can absolutely agree with that statement. And I know we've seen Christophe and Loic on the same board in some league nights, and yeah, the knives come out pretty quickly between them. So that's a great point that your pick to click is on the other side of the board for maybe the biggest rival. So. All right, guys, let's do this in league night fashion. Adam, let's get your take on the orders, and Robert, give us some analysis. Let's start with Spring 1901.
All right, so I am looking, and I think some of the interesting things we see are the English Channel remains empty. We see a move to Burgundy by the French, which is probably natural when Nicolas Sahuguet is playing Germany. The Italian orders are quite fascinating. The Venice to Trieste is one thing, but also the follow-up of Rome to Venice suggests that may or may not have actually been an agreed upon situation. Otherwise, we see usual bounces in Galicia and the Black Sea, so everyone playing it a little bit tight in the East, other than that IA situation, which we'll have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, Robert, so maybe the meta in France isn't the same as maybe the IA partnership that we've seen more recently in the virtual games. Is this something for Lead maybe taking an early advantage, wanting to get the lead?
Quite possibly. I mean, if this wasn't arranged, if Brioc didn't know of this, I'm already hating my life if I'm Brioc right now. It can only take one turn and you're saying already, oh God, what's happening? It could still be. I think this loaning business of Trieste actually came sort of out of the French hobby, so I don't think it's unusual. So we might still see some weird option where maybe Trieste goes to Budapest and Venice goes to Tyrolia, Ionian to Aegean or something. But usually it doesn't seem to be very pro-Austria when two armies move their way. And that could be very bad for Austria already. Another thing that I would point out is the move to Burgundy without support. It's a bit risky at times because if you get bounced, Paris is sort of stranded and you cannot do anything productive with it in fall. But the way this went, that Loic actually got into Burgundy, I'm really liking the French position because he can take both Iberian centers if he wants to, and he has purchase on Belgium or can, take a dive at Munich. So lots of flexibility there. I'm really liking this position just after the first turn.
Yeah, Adam. So if you're getting into this position, it's fall 1901 negotiations, and you're Nicolas. What is your goal out of France this time? What offer can you make France to say, don't go to Munich, or all right, fine, I'll happily give you 6, but here's what we get out of it. What's your negotiation strategy if you're Germany here?
Frankly, the best thing that can happen right here for Germany is you get England and France to bounce in Belgium. You cover Munich on your own. I don't know that that's what Nicolas is going to do here. Obviously, that's one of many options. I could see him supporting himself to Holland as an alternative. But actually, I would be fairly surprised if Nicolas decides to get involved in Belgium at all from this position, and is probably going to be trying to set up a situation where nobody gets it in this year, and then he can be the kingmaker next year. So that would be my prediction, but I don't know what the negotiation is.
Yep. All right, well, Robert, let's see how we manage that negotiation. Oops, let me get the button there. Why won't it move? There we go. All right.
Yeah, he is covering Munich. He's playing it safe. He doesn't want to screw his game in the first year. But actually, it's not that good for him that England and France seem to be on the same page. Loic is giving Steve Belgium. The Bills will tell us a bit more how much they trust each other yet. But it's certainly not the kind of balance of power thing that Adam was probably hoping for if he was putting himself into Nicolas' shoes. And in the East, we see, it probably wasn't arranged, this whole thing with Italy. This is awful for Brioc. I'm sorry for you, man. I mean, he gets Turkey supports Trieste into Serbia. He sniffs out that Venice will follow it up, so at least he bounces them out of Trieste. But he doesn't get into Greece either, because he does some unusual thing trying to dive into Ionian Sea. Maybe expected that the fleet would go to Aegean or Tunis. And bounce in Black Sea. Russia can just walk into Romania. It seems to be a, hey, let's gobble up Austria and then we see what we do next situation in the East.
Yeah, Adam, resolving your sphere is always the biggest thing on top boards. Has the East come together in a squash Austria like we used to see? Is that the plan?
I suspect that's the plan, but squashing Austria between RTI is not resolving the East. That's the thing. It's really just replacing some centers very quickly. I mean, yes, taking Austria out in 1902, 1903, you have one fewer power over there. But you still have this 3-country triangle of massive problems. And so you now have a 3-on-3 here and 3 here. So that has not resolved it. When you take Turkey out, that resolves it because you've knocked out the corner position, or you neutralize Russia. That has the same effect. So actually, this is good starting position for Italy. It's good starting position for Turkey. They potentially have some way to work together here. But let's hold off before we say that this is going to be an East versus West kind of thing, East pushing West.
All right. So my follow up to that, and you mentioned it, is you didn't mention Russia with the fast start. He got a walk in to Romania. He got support into Sweden. Yeah. If you're Russia, you feeling good right now?
Yeah, I think this is all you can ask for, right? You're positioned to potentially put a fleet up north if that's what you want to do, which maybe in this position you're considering it. You're not in too bad shape down south. You're not going to have to worry about getting dogpiled on. So I'm probably thinking about North Coast right here, North Coast, St. Pete, and Moscow as my builds.
Robert, any other country, any other builds that you'd really want to see right now other than Russia?
There are a few, obvious one, like Turkey should put a fleet down, I'm pretty sure. I think the really interesting ones will be, is there something in Brest and London? And is it a fleet? Because if there aren't fleets in London and Brest, this is telling us that E and F want to get it started very quickly as well. Maybe they feel more encouraged to do that now that they're seeing that Austria gets killed quickly in the East. Whereas if they both build a fleet there, it's a bit more of a wait-and-see balance of power situation in the West. So that could be very telling, I think, what they're building there.
Yeah, and Adam, for your other army, where are you putting that? For Moscow or Warsaw?
For Russia, I mean, I don't really want to, seeing what's going on in the West, I want to leave the Germans alone. I mean, Warsaw, if I really feel like I need a piece of Austria, but I'm probably thinking about Moscow here.
And
okay,
they went the other way. We've got nothing in Brest and army in London. Wow, EF Leviathan.
Yeah. I hate these French builds. I hate it. That's me. I hope Loic proves me wrong, but a 2-build France, not putting one fleet down. Don't like it. Very inflexible.
Is this a reputational build that we got to throw everything and the kitchen sink at Nicolas?
Possibly, yeah.
I think it's an issue, right? I mean, France now has too many armies, and you're going to get just basically locked up unless you're going to send something over to Piedmont or something like that. Which maybe you'll do that, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan.
And Robert, what about Army St. Pete?
Well, it's the more cautious option, which can be fine. You can still take Norway, which is likely what will happen. I mean, the French players are known for the balance of power, so we're going to see if that's happening. But the typical balance of power move here would be, okay, Germany is in trouble, so I'm going to stymie England's way the best I can. So we might as well see something like St. Pete is supporting Sweden into Norway. Then you still have a fleet that can go against England. And you think that, okay, Germany will probably not stab me in Sweden if they have two problems next to them in the West already. The fleet could still have been a fun option, but it's always a bit more safe because you can move it down and defend the south if you really get into trouble in the south. If, for example, Italy and Turkey stick together after you've got Austria out of the game and they both come for you, you have just a bit more flexibility with the army.
Adam, if you're Austria going into spring 1902, are you just praying, or is there a diplomatic solution to this?
It depends on the diplomatic situation, but assuming that I'm pretty confident I and T are going to do what they're doing, I'm diplomating the hell out of Russia. I'm saying, hey, put me in Serbia. You can take Budapest. Put me, push me down. I'm just saying, hey, keep me in this game. I'm your man. I'm your man.
Yeah. And did it work? Other way around, but kind of worked.
Yeah.
Tell us what you see.
Yeah, I mean, the Austria tried to put Russia into Serbia, which is perfectly logical from this position, and I think all of Christoph's moves certainly makes sense. If you're going to be playing down there, you might as well drop into Galicia, whether you're going to be supporting the Austrians or you're going to be taking a dot off of them. So that's all fine. The Italians do pop up into the Adriatic Sea and Tyrolia here. That certainly makes sense for them to do that. And the French are just trying to advance their armies. They get bounced out of Ruhr, which is pretty expected here. I think that this is just showing it's sort of suboptimal position for the EF. I mean, certainly in the long run, they will break through here, but, missing things like Belgium seems to just be making a not very useful move to Holland. It could have supported Burgundy to Ruhr. Obviously, that's getting cut, but, that would have been a more logical play here. Getting bounced out of the North Sea, not great. Losing Helgoland, not great. You opt to go to Skag, but now you're in a position to attack Russia and not Germany, which is really not what you're trying to achieve here. So not a great turn for England or France, in my opinion. And I didn't even mention that St. Petersburg took St. Petersburg took Norway here. Of course, there's nothing behind it, so now there's a guess over holding Norway or St. Petersburg, which is the issue of this position.
Yeah, Robert, we see that's what I was going to see. Is you see the army moving over. Is the fleet keel to Helgoland expected? Is this a chance for breakthrough for Russia if they guess right? If St. Petersburg can be guessed right to defend, is the tide maybe turn? Is the favor in GR?
It's certainly not bad. Yeah, I mean, because Germany defended very well here. I mean, this is just like almost the perfect thing that could have happened from this position for Nicolas. And EF will certainly be stymied, and this is especially if Russia guesses right here and they can take one off of England. And this is a position where it can really matter that this game is time capped in 1907, because you don't have time as EF to take until 1904 to take the first German dot, because you finally guessed right. And if this is really if Nicolas can guess right for long enough with maybe some support of Christoph, he can really turn things around, because he can especially go to Steve and say, like, look, you tried taking stuff off of me. How about you start moving on France? The other way around, a little more difficult, because Luik has only one fleet and it's in a very passive position in Portugal. So Luik has really committed. But this is really how you turn things around. You do tactics for as long as you can and hope that it is long enough so you can change something diplomatically.
That was good. The second question I had for you is, would you have held Portugal there?
It's tactically obviously a suboptimal move. It's all out diplomatic. I think Mao, or at least Spain's south coast, shouldn't be too worrying to anybody. Especially if Italy's doing well. I think Spain's south coast is fine. I'm kind of okay with not putting anything into Mao if you want to show England that you're with them. But Spain's south coast gives you the option to control Italy a little bit if it keeps going that well for Italy in the east.
It feels like Nikola has a really strong pitch to Loic right now to say, hey, the only useful thing you can do is take Belgium and build a fleet, because otherwise, what are you going to get in the next 2 years, right? And it's a pretty strong pitch, actually, I think.
Robert, that's what I was going to, Adam, I was going to ask you, set up the fall 1902 negotiations. So that's the most important.
I don't know if it goes anywhere, but I mean, he has a really strong case to say, look, you put down 2 armies for some reason. And I know you have more armies than I do right now, but hey, what are you going to do against me? The only thing you can take right now is Belgium. The only thing you're going to be able to take next year is Belgium. So why are we doing this? Like, this is a waste of both of our times, right? And it's a strong, strong case.
The other thing we didn't really spend any time over just mentioning the order is Tyrolia. What if you're Nicolas, what are you saying to Lay about Tyrolia here?
I'm good. I don't need to talk to him about it, honestly. I know what it's not coming to Munich. I'm not concerned with that.
And it did not go to Munich, Robert. So tell us what's your highlight of the board here.
It's fun that Austria can retreat to Venice. So that move into Tyrolia was not very helpful, because if it had just stayed there, Italy could have taken Trieste as they did and kept their home center in Venice. At the same time, Austria is getting into Serbia, so they are still at 3, even though they only have 1 home center left. And yeah, they are clearly, as Adam pointed out, they are sort of already in Janissary mode for Russia trying to survive. Russia saying, sure, I'm supporting you forward and I'm taking Vienna. There is not really not like big conflict between Russia and Turkey, but Turkey is trying to slow Russia down by tapping Romania. They're bouncing in Black Sea again. And we've talked about it. Christoph is actually guessing right over Norway and St. Pete. So that's great news for him and for Nicolas, and pretty bad news for Steve. And you know what else is bad news? Just as Adam pointed it out, Loic said, oh, this is not going anywhere. I'm going to take Belgium. I'm going to put that fleet into Mao. So the position has turned from like solid position into pretty bad position for Steve Pasolini pretty quickly.
This is terrible position for England, and it's great position for France, because that fleet in Brest comes down, and notice there's nothing in the North Sea and there's no fleet in London. So English Channel and Irish are going to both fall in the spring to the French, and he's going to have his way with taking a guess at either convoying to Wales or London or Liverpool. Lots of options for Loic. So it worked out okay in spite of everything else. It worked out okay, those 2 army builds.
All right. I think the tactics on here, I mean, Russia this is what setting up the builds. I mean, Russia picks up 2 more. I mean, this is runaway Russia at this point. Are you on the Russian bandwagon, Adam?
I mean, I definitely really like Christoph's position. I think Lay's moves last year were just very puzzling. There was no reason for him to leave an army, let an army get into Italy, and notice that he has nothing behind it, so it can now walk to Rome. I just don't think there was any reason for that to happen. Just a tactical mistakes. So that really has helped Christoph's position. But, Turkey is looking pretty reasonable and in a position to maybe play a little bit of balance up there. Nicolas is probably going to get back into this game, and he's going to have to choose, what is my next dot if I'm Nicolas? And England is going to take a little bit of while. So you're going to go follow up as to England. You're going to try to take something out of Scandinavia. I don't know.
Yeah, Robert, that's what my question on to your side would be. Okay, obviously I gave Adam the layup with Russia, clearly far and away ahead of everyone at this point. But make me the pitch that it's anyone but Russia. Who do you take?
I probably actually take France. France is always a strong country. As Adam pointed out, the offensive potential against England is now very good. You are in a solid position where even if Nicolas says like, okay, now I've turned you, now I'm going for your stuff, you can hold Belgium pretty well as well. So Loic has a lot of play here, as long as he builds that fleet. Please, Loic, don't build a 5th army. But I don't think we will see that. He knows what he's doing, I think.
I'm thinking, and Robert, I'm not sure what you feel about this, but that move to Piedmont was probably a mistake. I think actually, if you're going to be setting up to maybe convoy an army into England, you probably want that army back at home, because you don't know. I mean, Nicola, you know, I don't know.
True, yeah. I mean, with 3 armies, you're pretty safe. With 2, it's a bit more vulnerable already. I mean, Piedmont can be fun to play a bit of balance of power in the east. So maybe you're just hoping to help Austria mess with Italy for a little longer. But yes, I agree that could be handy to have that in the west to convoy it somewhere and be more safe at the same time.
All right. Well, I'm hoping for Fleet North Coast this time. Didn't get it though.
Oh, North Coast. Wow. Okay.
We got your Fleet Brest, so that makes sense. Pulled Adriatic, probably the good one to do. Another Fleet Smyrna, so definitely no IT, because once that 3rd fleet comes down, that's not possible anymore. Adam's going to get the spring. So, Robert, tell me about those 2 armies in Russia.
Well, they clearly say Christoph wants to play in the southeast and says to the west, do your thing. You know, I have Norway and Sweden. I want to keep them, but that's about all I'm doing right here. And I want to get my builds in the south. Will it work out? Potentially. I mean, if it's FG, maybe he's not under a very instant threat in the north. Yeah, we will see. At some point, it can be very useful to have northern fleets as Russia. But if he gets a lot of centers in the south, he might just get over the bump and, you know, have enough that he needs to top this board in the end.
Is Russia under any pressure from Germany now that England is possibly neutralized? Although pulling Barents leaves the fleet near him, north is still open. Is this the time, if you're Russia, are you really spending a lot of time with Germany saying, all right, let's keep going, let's keep going?
I mean, you certainly work on Germany to go after England rather than after you. However, there is a rationale that you could try prop up England right now that they seem to be the odd person out in the West. Like supporting them into Denmark could be a fun option. You're obviously making Nicolas mad, but then at the same time, I think if it is an FG, which is really looking like right now, if you help them, probably Nicolas will come after you pretty soon as well, because he knows that if it goes well for you in the south and everything is looking like that for Russia at the moment, he cannot let you just sit in Scandinavia forever, because otherwise he will not top the board, even if he takes 2 or 3 centers in the west.
Yeah, I mean,
the Turkish fleet build is fascinating. It's not a surprising build from this position for sure, but it certainly indicates that, you know, Turkey sees more potential gain by the mess in the Med than they do by trying to play balance of power with the Russian and saying, hey, you know, we'll just keep doing our thing, bouncing in the Black Sea, la-di-da, and I think I can gain elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful for Russia. I'm not sure if it was Christoph's work, but anyway, he gotta love it.
All right, well, let's see where it takes us. Come on, button. There we go, in the box. There we go. We got it. All right. Whoa. Oh, my gosh. Turnaround time. Adam, what's going on in the West?
Yeah. Wow. So we went to North Africa. Well, nobody has taken Tunis in this game. So France says, maybe I might as well do that. I'm sort of surprised that he would go to North Africa rather than Western Med in this position, just because it's a less flexible position to be in. But that's interesting. Nicolas makes a bunch of moves that I'm assuming he knows aren't going to work with respect to tapping Belgium and tapping Burgundy, and is setting up to play balance of power against Christoph, right? I mean, he's basically going to the Baltic Sea, Denmark, putting that army in Kiel to potentially convoy it somewhere that can only be unfriendly to Christoph. Of course, Christoph, I guess, sniffs something out because he sends the army up to St. Petersburg, so he's got something else up there to defend. But you know, it's quite fascinating. I mean, it's this all of a sudden looks awfully Tripoli. I don't know. I mean, if you're Steve, I guess you're happy that everybody just got off your back. But very, very interesting. I didn't comment on the East, which is maybe less exciting, other than to say that it looks like Italy and Austria are also on board for slowing down Russia right now. So that's quite interesting. Though it is odd that they would put the fleet from Albania into Trieste rather than an army. But
well, I think if I'm Austria, I'm having a lot of fun just letting France walk into Rome and fall. I mean, maybe I don't think there is a deal between A and I, because it's just that Italy goes north and Austria takes Trieste back behind them. So I don't think Austria has any reason to bounce them out of there from Venice. So I mean, Italy was one of the players who essentially ended your game. I mean, it's not ended, but it's the chances are very slim for Austria to top this thing. So I'm just loving it and say, like, Loic, please, Rome is a wonderful place to be. Just go there. I'm gonna say, like, yeah, it's all yours.
The other pitch I could see making is Briuc going to Loic and saying, let me walk to Rome and Venice and keep Trieste. And then Austria, who we thought was dead to rights, is actually back in the game. Can't build, but could really put a hurting on Italy, who struck early on. So
that would be great for Austria. I'm not sure if this is going to happen, but yeah, maybe he can work the diplomatic angle and say, like, look, Loic, you need somebody to stop RNT, and it's clearly not going to be Italy. So yeah, maybe if he does this argument, if he makes it well, he can actually get it. That would be brilliant too.
And the other question, I'll ask this one to Adam, since you'll get the fall orders, Robert. But Adam, Ionian Falls, right? Is Turkey going to break out?
I don't see why you're not taking Ionian right now as Turkey. It's already end of 03. You're sort of close to halfway through this game. You have the opportunity. You take it right here, because you're going to have some French fleets down there very quickly. And if you want to be able to get something out of this, you've got to be able to push. So yeah, I mean, the other thing is, if I'm Turkey, I'm probably really pushing Russia hard to put me in Serbia, which is probably a tough case right now, since Russia is getting nailed pretty badly. But I think you really got to be pushing to get another build, get that third fleet into the Med.
Yeah, and you read my mind. It was going to say, right now, if I'm Turkey, I'm using the pressure on him in the north to say, look, we're good allies. I don't need to fight you in the south, but I need something right now.
Yeah,
I need another army.
Like, you're just going to go, Galicia supports Budapest, Ukraine supports Romania. So you might as well just have Romania support me into Serbia. You're not making other attacks right now. You don't need to, because you're not going to get both of Budapest and Vienna. You can only get one. So just play it safe and support Budapest. I mean, Russia could say, well, I can take Serbia myself, but you want to play together. You're at 8 and I'm at 5. Let's be reasonable here.
In the north, last question is, in the north, you can guarantee keeping only one, Norway or Sweden. Who do you give it to then? Are you working out some deal for 1904 to say, all right, fine, I have to give up one. I'd rather give it up to Steve than Nicola, or Nicola than Steve?
I mean, I'm without a doubt giving up Norway, but that's just me.
Yeah.
I don't, England's position may or may not be dangerous to me in the long term. Germany's position is very dangerous to me in the long term.
Well,
I'm wrong.
You don't study enough French film, Adam. Robert, why did he give up Sweden? Is the alliance strong?
I don't think it's about an alliance. I think the rationale is that it is easier to keep Norway because it is connected to St. Pete. I mean, let's be frank, if E and G keep working together, you will not keep Norway and not keep St. Pete in the long run anyway. But I think that is probably the idea, because on the top board, a Western Triple will most likely not be super long-lived. So that's maybe the idea. But yeah, I think, as Adam pointed out, Germany is stronger, and also Germany is usually the one who suffers from a Western Triple. So I think if you stymie Germany a little bit, chances are better to turn them than England, probably. But yeah, I can only assume that the fact that it is connected to St. Pete is why Christoph chose to keep Norway, I would say.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And then Russia. So Turkey did not get Serbia, didn't even ask for it. Maybe what do you make of Russia actually picking one up then down in the south?
Well, I mean, I guess if you've got Venice is going to cut Tyrolia for you, sure, I'd be happy to do that, right? It wasn't necessarily what I was expecting Austria to do, but it certainly makes sense given the relationship between those two powers. So, if you're getting Austria to play spoiler against Italy, why not if you can get away with it? And who knows, maybe Turkey didn't ask or didn't make a good pitch, right? And you can avoid having to have that conversation by and just go this way.
And Robert, Tuscany walking into Rome. I mean, Austria is really just saying, yep, Italy, you're paying for your opening mistake.
I mean, if I'm Brioc, that's the most fun I've had all game. That very thing.
Well, he's even though. Austria still stays the same and is actually two ahead of Italy. So yes, outperforming Italy and not out of the game at this point. So France probably has the best turn, Robert. That's who I made you, other than Russia, consider. Do you still like your pick?
Yeah, France is in a very nice position here. Obviously, Russia is as well. But I think they are really the two leaders here, with Turkey following closely behind. I mean, the fact that Russia is getting trouble in the north is great for Turkey. The old formula that a Western triple usually helps Turkey is probably true here as well. So even though he's only at 5 and he didn't get a new center this turn, you know, it still could be that Thomas has a good sprint to the finish line in the last few years. So I don't hate the Turkish position either.
Yeah. And Adam, what are you building if you're Germany?
It's tough. I'm probably building an army, but I kind of want a fleet here, but I'm probably going to build an army.
Yeah, our army is less directly threatening Russia, but still could be. I mean, that army in Burgundy, while it is a French province, and we will always argue that, it's still on your doorstep, and you can't rush out fully into Russia there. So, Robert, if you're France, what are you building here?
I think I'm building Fleet Marseille, probably, because everything else would be a bit too telling to the west. I'm also getting worried that EG will come for me pretty soon, just because my position is too strong. But I think if I really want to get Tunis and get myself into a position where I can keep it, I need a third fleet down there. So I think Fleet Marseille is good. And if England is actually coming for me, I can need fleets anyway, and Fleet Brest would be probably too antagonistic anyway.
There might be an argument for Army Marseille, but I tend to agree with Robert that Fleet is more likely.
And if you're really, really mad in Italy, what are you keeping to just give the middle finger to the Austrian?
Well, it's more the other way around.
No, at this point, Italy's mad. Italy's got to be mad. Either that or he's accepted his mistake from the beginning, and even so, he's still not going to survive at this point. Yeah. But I keep the fleet, but I'll be curious to see what he does. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to survive, the fleet is the best bet. I mean, an army is really just there to tip the thing to one direction, either say like, hey, Russia, I'm going to help you into something, or sorry, Austria, I feel like I owe you one and I'm trying to put you into a Russian dot or something. But the fleet is the most likely option to somehow survive this game.
Yeah. And you got your army in Berlin and your fleet in Marseille. So let's do one more year, because then they'll get us more than halfway through the 7-year timeline, and then we'll get some maybe bigger picture look at the board. So, Adam, what do you? I'm looking at this here. What do you see?
Yeah, I'm starting in the East, and I think it's fairly interesting what Turkey does here, going for Apulia, right? So, I mean, I think there were a lot of options that they had. They could have tried to support the Italians into Tunis. They could have gone to the Adriatic. Apulia is one that I didn't necessarily expect, but I think it's an interesting move. I mean, it gives them potential play on Naples. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see how that works. They do force Serbia without Russian help, it looks like. The Russians opt to just kind of sit there for a turn and see what happens, while basically covering themselves against the German armies coming into no man's land in the middle. Meanwhile, in the West, the English do indeed kick out the Russians from Norway, so they're back in Sweden. And the French exit Burgundy. That's a really important move, as Robert pointed out earlier.
So, Robert, are the bounces in Prussia and Silesia planned, do you think, or Is that just good defense both ways around?
They could quite possibly be arranged. It could be a situation where Christoph and Nicolas notice, or like, they both know that they don't want to really fight each other all out, but at the same time, Nicolas wants Christoph to go down a few more dots before he turns around. So it could be that they are arranged, actually. The thing that I want to point out is that while France is sort of opening themselves up a bit in the West, England takes Norway from Norwegian Sea rather than North Sea, which is, I think, completely the right move, but it should be a bit worrying for France because, where is England going after this? Maybe with sometimes St. Pete, but that's about all they can do. And I would be very worried that England will drop into English Channel pretty soon.
Yeah, Western Med with the bounce stays there, so it's only one turn from Mid-Atlantic, but your eyes are there. And it is Adam, is England, you say, oh my God, I can't give up the North Sea. Nicolas would move right in if he had a chance, right?
Yeah, there's no reason why you would take it the other way. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of sense in that. I mean, had the army not been sitting in Yorkshire, you probably would have convoyed it, right? In Wales, but you probably would have convoyed the army over. You don't have a French fleet in the Mao, so it's safe to do that. But this is probably the best he could do. I mean, I could envision him trying to convoy in the fall and moving the fleet from Norway up to Barents. That probably wouldn't be a terrible set of orders if he's not quite ready to attack France in 1905.
Yeah. All right. So we're a little over on the time for this turn, Adam, but give me 20 seconds about why Russia was very passive. Couldn't they have been a little more aggressive?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, right? I mean, they could have made an attack on Trieste here, right? That would have went, right, putting Vienna into Trieste or Budapest. But on the other hand, I think waiting to see what the Germans are actually going to do. I suspect that you're just as happy bouncing Prussia and Silesia as you are getting in there, because even if you get there, there's not much you can do. But you're going to be kind of doing that for a little while, I suspect.
All right, Robert. A lot of black arrows this time, and not the way that I saw a lot of them moving.
So Turkey is helping Italy back into Naples, and France is just moving forward, taking Tyrrhenian Sea, putting Austria into Apulia, and that way piffing the Turkish fleet. So that is a great positional move for France. They have now a very strong and solid position in the east, and they get a build. So England has not yet attacked them, and even though England is getting a build, so does France. So it's not too worrying in the west either. And then the big news, I think, is that Russia is taking Serbia from Turkey. So this long-lasting RT is finally over, it seems like. And Russia is saying, okay, if I'm losing out in the north and I've essentially taken everything in the east that I will get with Turkey, I got to turn around and take centers in the south. Austria is helping them into Serbia, and Austria keeps, hanging on. They just lost one. They're still at 2. So good job, Priok. We've seen many Austrias be gone by now if they got attacked that viciously in 01 already. So that's kind of what's happening.
Yeah, so this I wanted to bring it up earlier. You mentioned about the support. I wonder if the condition of getting into Serbia was Bulgaria, and Russia took offense to that, saying, I thought you were going to leave Bulgaria open. It would have, these units all holding, I don't want to have to deal with the Turkish army afloat around. Oh, and then it's right behind me. Maybe this was payback for a little mistruth.
I don't think any Turkey is going to take Serbia that way. I mean, I don't think that's a reasonable ask on the part. Wouldn't be a reasonable ask on the part of Russia. Now, I can't say that Russia's wrong necessarily in doing this, but actually, I mean, I'm not quite clear on what Ionian was trying to do this turn, or Apulia. So I don't know what went wrong there. That absolutely nothing happened with either of those units. Were they making an attack?
They were helping Italy.
They were helping Naples.
Which is a weird thing,
what a strange choice.
Yeah,
to Apulia for that purpose. That's very strange.
Yeah, and especially it makes no difference. I mean, as long as you don't go to Naples, even if Rome goes to Naples and Tyrrhenian gets piffed, it's an Italian home center, so they just rebuild it. So I don't quite understand what this was for.
Very strange. Yeah. It's hard to overstate how good a turn for France this is, because look what happens here. The PIF on the part of Turkey now means that Turkey is going to rebuild an army in Smyrna right now to go after the Russians, which means that now France's main rival at the moment for the top of the board is going to be having pressure from potentially both the Germans and the Turks, unless the Germans use this as an excuse to turn around the other way, which is certainly possible with English building. And, you know, a lot, we'll know a lot from what England builds right here.
Yeah, with the fleet and the fleet going away, three French fleets versus one Austrian fleet and one Italian fleet. And the best part about it is Austria is still furious that everyone taps both of the fleets, so Turkey couldn't have gotten to Naples anyway. Austria sniffs out that Turkey's trying to help Italy. If you're trying to help Italy, you're on my bad side too. This is just great for France, right? They can afford to send Western Med back to Mid-Atlantic now if England builds in London. So they don't necessarily have to build Fleet Brest here. They could build Army Paris as a more defensive build. But I'm really struggling if I'm France in deciding which one I want to do, which one I want. Does Yorkshire to Wales, Robert? Does Yorkshire to Wales make Fleet London, Fleet Brest more possible?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Just because, I mean, Picardy is still there, so you can still cover for the convoy, even though you might lose English Channel right away. The thing is, obviously, if London drops and Brest drops, England can still support themselves into English Channel. But I think I'm building Fleet Brest anyway here as France, and you can use that as an excuse, frankly, and saying, look, you know, that really looked to me like you're setting up that convoy. I didn't want that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're Nicolas, Adam, you're rooting for those two fleets, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it gives me more options. I mean, it's interesting now, right? Because Russia's about to disband, and so depending on where they disband, that could really.
No, that's a Serbian disband.
Oh, that's Austrian disband. Okay, so they're not. But they're
yeah,
not.
Sorry, yeah, Austrian. Yeah, duh.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I see. Okay, well, that's.
Oh wow!
Ouch.
Wow.
I mean, this is pretty bad for France. I mean, their position is still, you know, not a bad position, but it will get worse significantly in the year to come, I suspect.
Oh, just when they had their breakthrough in the south with Ionian being pulled as well, now they got to pull two fleets back, and even that's not going to be quick enough. Fleet Con, Adam, not Army Smyrna.
I would prefer Army Smyrna personally. I think, you know, I can understand you want to immediately support yourself to black. I think if supporting to black is what you want to do, you can move AG into Con in the spring and really kind of, you know, get it back out the next year. But obviously that's the point here. But then you're going to find yourself a little bit fleet heavy and not necessarily have a good position to make an attack. But I guess you can probably force Serbia from that position. So it's not terrible.
All right, so balance of power. Maybe you need to keep Fleet Aegean focused westward, just to keep an eye on it. But
you're already done in that regard. I mean,
and it didn't even force Black Sea, Adam.
And he put a fleet in Armenia.
Yeah.
How strange. Why do you do that from this position?
It's weird.
I don't understand why you do that from this position. You just put a fleet down to force black. That's very strange to me.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, if there is an argument that you might want to keep something in Con just in case for some reason somebody taps Greece, if either Italy or France had gotten into Ionian, you could say, okay, then I can still secure Bulgaria. But I mean, you can also do that from Aegean, so not even that makes that much sense. So yeah,
I guess the thinking is I want to support myself into black while I have a fleet in arms, so he can't retreat there. Is that, or so that they can't move? He's not retreating.
Yeah, probably. That's probably the most.
It's not a retreat though, so he's not going to be in arm anyway. So they're thinking maybe Sev gets clever and goes to arm because they're expecting me to. Support the black. I don't know. It feels like a little bit of overthinking himself.
Probably.
Well, we'll see. The notice I see just maybe. There's no X here. I don't see any possible retreat for Belgium, and I believe Holland gets in, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is all, as we suspected, not very good for France at all. They will only lose Belgium this year, but now they also have to guess over Picardy and stuff. And
Well, Germany's in Burgundy, right? I mean, if
Germany's in Belgium.
yeah, but here, I mean, if they're
Oh,
going to make
next turn, yeah. And I mean, they might lose Rome as well. Maybe actually, finally, Italy and Austria will get together. Maybe they'll say, okay, Italy taps Tyrrhenian and Austria takes Rome or something.
I see no justification for the Marseille to Piedmont move. You know, I understand you want to play aggressive, but you got to protect your homeland, and you've got to know that this is coming, right? And there's no excuse for not knowing this is coming. Marseille's got to go up to Gascony. You made the choice to build the army. You know, keep it at home so you can defend yourself without getting yourself completely out of position. This is really going to be rough. Couple of turns for Loic now, because honestly, Nicola is going to have to commit himself somewhere. Otherwise, you know, he's not going to be in a position to potentially hotspot, right? He's been sitting at 5 or 6 centers the whole game. That's not going to be enough.
Yeah, I think Loic got snookered here. I think Steve sold him, and maybe Nicola as well sold him the story. Hey, I was a little frightened of Fleet Brest, but now that I see that you didn't build it, I'm happy, and I'm gonna go east, and I'm gonna go for St. Pete. And I think that's probably what they made Loic believe.
Yeah, Chris, the thing I'm looking for fall 05, Robert, before you get to these orders here is, does Russia take Trieste? They were very passive a couple of times. They went to Bohemia in fall of 05 or fall of 04, not spring of 04, when they made that first, when I thought it was maybe just a plan to bounce, but then went to Bohemia in fall of 04. Will they be aggressive? They could try and sneak Trieste here, maybe, you know, gambling on Serbia, taking you get one, you lose the other. Is this time where Russia, if they're going to win this game, what's Russia got to do this turn diplomatically up north to get there?
So Kevin, I think you know, Serbia is not at risk, right? Because Rum just supports it, right? Because the Turks did not bother forcing the Black Sea, Serbia is not at risk in this position.
But again, if it gets cut, though, Trieste isn't guaranteed. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to gamble for that center.
But do we really think, you know, given what's been going on, that we really think Austria is going to cover Trieste in this position? I suspect they're going to do something in Italy, and Russia knows this from the diplomacy. So, you know, I would say it depends on the diplomacy. And if you think you can get away, you can get into Trieste, there's no downside for you taking it. I don't think, with France getting attacked, because France is the one who would naturally benefit. But France has got problems of their own right here.
Yeah. Doesn't. So Serbia stays held. Russia really crashing south. Up north, a lot of holds. Robert, what do you make of what do you make of the turnaround up north?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite convinced this is a good move. Because yeah, I mean, France is still in a very good position now. I mean, okay, they lost one, but apart from that, they are still pretty strong. And was Germany really your biggest problem as England right here? I think your chance, if you had gone with Germany to get Brest pretty soon, were very good. And if you had kept working with Germany, you probably could have also convinced them to give you St. Pete at some point. So I'm not sure. Maybe they thought they would actually get into Holland. I think that would make it a little more sensible if they thought they would stab for 2 here. But as it is, also a fleet in Belgium, I mean, I'm pretty sure that France wouldn't have supported the army convoy there because they want to get that fleet out of English Channel. But this is not the best position for England, really, I think. I mean, it's way better for France that they managed to arrange that than for England, even though England has taken the dot. Yeah.
I'm really surprised, actually, that the agreed upon plan between England and Germany wasn't for the Germans in Belgium to support a convoy of Wales to Picardy, right? So that's kind of interesting, which suggests that they were, either not discussing tactics in great detail, because that seems to be the play there, or that they both kind of knew that they weren't fully serious about this long term. Meanwhile, this is a spectacular turn for France. It's about as good as it could have been. It's also a great turn for Russia, right? Because now there's all this pressure on Germany. There's incentive to go there. Look at this. He's in Prussia. He's got St. Petersburg unthreatened and can send some more units down to the south to defend against the Turks. So this is not too bad at all. I'm a little perplexed by the Sev-Rum thing going on. I guess that probably just wasn't intended to work. So probably didn't matter.
Well, I think they tried to be very safe, that if Turkey tried to be cute and didn't put anything onto black, and maybe they tried walking Armenia to Sev, I think that's what they wanted to protect from.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so Austria, after all the fighting, back up to 3. So
love it.
Ryuk. Now the question is, can they get to 4? They haven't been at 4 all game. Robert,
I mean,
up or yes or no? Are we getting to 4?
Probably
2 years left.
I don't think. Well, yeah, no. I'm just gonna say yes, just for the fun of it. I think they're gonna sneak into Vienna at some point because Russia will be too focused on Turkey.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Adam, all right. So England picks up Belgium. They're the big winner out of the Western kerfuffle. What? You got to put down Fleet London and actually make the press this time, right?
I don't know what you do here, right? You just swapped, and I know, if I'm Nicola, I'm like, why did you do this? This was an idiotic move, and I'm not sure I even feel like I can work with you if this is the kind of crap you're going to pull. I mean, I'm not going to diplome that way, but that's what's going through my mind, right? And I'm not saying, and I don't mean as a criticism of Steve, because this may have been a good move from his perspective, but I know from the German perspective, I'm thinking like, why the hell did you do that? We just figured this out. We worked together. We're gonna, both get some dots here. So, you probably do build Fleet London here, but I mean, I don't know.
All right, I'm going to set it up. Robert, do you like the Fleet Edinburgh?
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I mean, it's not a easy position for England anyway, because you got to worry about Norway and stuff, and if you do that, you can't really get it into an interesting position. But I think if you decided to work with France, you might as well show them that you can, at least for a year before you just start fighting all out in 2007, work with them. Because I think if you build Fleet London, you're not getting anywhere, because you're probably bouncing an English Channel, and you probably have to support Norway. So maybe if you have taken this step, it's actually the right build.
But honestly, shouldn't he get English Channel for his thanks? I mean, doesn't France just move to the English Channel here just because?
Quite possibly, yeah, could be.
All right, Adam. So 2 years left on the clock here. Russia's under some pressure. I mean, not that Austria has vengeance against him, but Russia does own 2 of home centers and Serbia. It's going to be harder to get Naples. I mean, if you're Austria, you're probably turning around right now, or are you king-making at this point if you're Austria?
Depends on my relationship. I've been working with Russia a lot of the game, right? And Russia kept me in this game in some regards. Didn't take Trieste last turn. Maybe I'm sticking with the Russians and gonna do something like, I don't know, go down to Venice to Apulia or something like that to try to, give France something to think about. I don't know. I think it's very, very much dependent on the diplomatic situation, because Austria knows at this point that they're not winning this game. So it's, do I want France to win? Do I want Russia to win? Do I want Turkey to win? Do I not care at all? And I'm just going to be screwing around as best as I can. We don't know what his motivations are.
And Robert, if you're Loic, what are you whispering in Steve's ear with those fleets right now to get you the victory?
I think one thing you might want to tell him is Well, no, that doesn't even work. I wanted to say support hold Norway, but probably Germany is putting Russia into Norway anyway and tapping North Sea. So I suppose you just tell them dive into Helgoland or Skagerrak and follow it up with Eddie to North Sea. And then you can always decide whether you want to stab him this turn already and go for Belgium, go for English Channel, or you want to roll with him for a turn or two until you drop the hammer. I think that's. But you certainly don't want him to waste units bouncing you in English Channel, even if you don't go there, because you want him to stop Russia and Germany, especially Russia. You want him to put up as much of a fight in the north as possible, because not only could he potentially still help you against Germany, but also if he loses out in the north too quickly, Christoph, who's like the biggest rival for Luik right now, will gain, and you really don't want Russia in Norway right now. But as I said, it's probably still happening.
Yeah, these units, there's a lot of Russian units on Germany right now, too. I'm excited these last 2 years. Adam, what do we think about? Misorder for St. Pete?
I don't know. There's a lot of weirdness this turn.
True.
I mean,
so I'm not sure I should so much. I mean, it certainly feels like Steve.
It's certainly making the game more interesting.
Yeah,
it's way more open than before.
Steve decided that working with Nicola was in his best interest, so he goes ahead and does that. Which is again why I was saying, like, if you're France in this position, why are you not just going to the channel with Brest instead of doing something useless like this? Wow, that's quite fascinating. So England does, pops out of Norway. I think that this is probably an agreement with Germany, though, to put Germany in St. Petersburg, or give Germany Norway when he puts you in St. Petersburg, or something along those lines, right? The other interesting thing, obviously, is France going to Vienna, which is interesting. I mean, I guess that France sees themselves as working with the Austrians in this position, because otherwise you're probably going to try to just force Rome, right? Because you can tap Venice and support yourself to Rome. So that suggests to me that Luik thinks that Brioc is on his side.
I don't know when the French celebrate Thanksgiving, if they, the equivalent of Thanksgiving, but Bohemia supporting Tyrolia to Munich, which did not happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would have worked if Prussia had tapped Berlin, but they didn't even do that. Right. But it certainly looks like Austria is anti-Russia. I mean, they supported the Turks into Serbia, for crying out loud.
Yeah, but it's amazing though, like the father-son combo of "I'll give you Munich, no thanks, I'm gonna stab you instead." So.
Yeah.
All right. So Germany's picking up 2, something we haven't said in
maybe.
Yeah, it's true. 3. Yeah, but it walked out. I mean,
none of these. Neither Belgium nor Norway is guaranteed to hold. So let's wait and see.
Very true. Very true. But just the way that those orders unfolded, it seems like maybe Nicolas' magic.
Should we be surprised to see Nicola, going up towards the top in 1 year before the game end? I mean, that's like
it's insane. Like,
brilliance. His brilliance is,
it's really good. Unfortunately, you got to say that France sort of dropped the ball here. I think they had just like a great position and a great opportunity to take this game. I mean, if he had done it right tactically, he could have been in Rome. He could have been in Belgium with that fleet that is now on English Channel piffed. And in that case, or he could have been in Munich, as we pointed out. But now I think, you are in Vienna, but for how long? I mean, this is fun, but is it actually good for you? I'm not so sure.
Yep.
My biggest question is, Robert, when I hit reveal on these orders, are we going to see Austria at 4? The answer is
yes.
That's a fist bump.
There it is.
Robert wins the analysis battle here. So tell us what we see outside of Vienna.
Well, we see Turkey pushing forward. Not really forward. They exchange Romania for Serbia, so they just get that one out of Russia that they were sitting in already. It's just a different one. England, as we suspected, gets put into St. Pete by Germany. And yeah, this is just like doom and gloom for France. As we suspected, they get kicked out of Vienna. At least they stay in Naples. That could have been another thing that they could have potentially lost, but they are losing Picardy to a convoy. They have got fleets in English Channel and now, right now. Oof, this is really, really not nice for Loic. And yeah, Nicolas is actually he's not. Oh, I'm dropping. I'm burying the lead right here. I only seeing now that actually Nicolas is losing Munich, so he's only picking up one. So that's good. That makes it way more interesting for the last year.
Yeah, it's amazing that Christoph's diplomacy seems to have failed him everywhere. He offered support of France into Trieste, not taken. Offered support from Berenson to Norway, not taken. Yet gets Austrian and French support into Munich. Is there a reason we all shouldn't play C Diplo because this seems to be the most fun game?
No, we should.
Adam, all right. What do you? So as we set up anything more than what we haven't covered, I think we went over it. I think. I mean, this is a lot of adjustments going into the last year. I think every country except France is adjusting at this point, right?
I mean, 7-7-6-6. This is. I mean, we haven't talked about much about Turkey lately, but even them, as we suspected as well, it could be that they will make the last minute sprint and take it home from here.
Well, England has a disband.
Yeah.
So that which has got to be NAO, right? So
it depends what you want to do. I mean, if England doesn't feel like they have a chance to win, which might be the case, it's really coming down to king-making. Maybe they somehow think that they prefer Nicolas over Loic, and if they want to throw the game to Nicolas, at least support him someplace, that could really matter here.
Yeah, Adam. So my question on adjustment is, what does Russia pull? Because like every unit is useful at this point.
Mm.
Maybe Munich. You're not going to hold it, so maybe you just pull it. I don't know. I mean, I guess
Silesia.
Or Silesia. I mean, I guess if you keep Munich and Silesia, then you potentially have guesses over Berlin, but I don't think that's going to go anywhere. So I'm probably going to pull Munich. I want to keep Silesia, I think, because it's more defensive in case I don't know. Maybe Silesia.
Yeah, just bad choices right now. I mean, Sev could be an option as well. It's hard to hold, and might very well be pissed.
You can't hold Sev.
But it's the Russian position is so fractured right now that there are only bad choices.
All right. So before we see these adjustments, Adam, who's your pick to win?
Well, I'm just trying to see Nicolas Sahu-Gay with 8 centers, maybe enough to top this board.
And he finished, remember the tiebreaker is seed order coming in, and he was in 6th place coming in. So Robert, can anyone else get to 8 centers at this point?
The only issue is he may not be at 8 if he gets kicked out of Norway, right? Because he does not have anything protecting Norway, which would mean he would be at 7. Then the question is, can anybody else be at 8? And it's not going to be the Russians. I don't think the Turks, I don't think they can take 2 dots. I think they can only take 1. And the French, I don't think, can take anything. So if it's a 7-7 tie between the French and the Germans, Nicolas has the tiebreaker. I think it's
the other way around. Loic has the tiebreaker.
Oh, it's the other way around. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know the diplomacy or what the king-making situation is. So.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So Robert, we got. So you wait, Adam. Are you with that tiebreaker? Notice in reverse order. Thomas was 7th. Nicolas was 6th. Here, let's go. Make sure we can. So here's where we stand as of what we've seen, no, it's top board. So I think Brandon fixed that then. So here's the players in reverse order. That's the tiebreaker. Christophe Briouk, Loic Lay, Steve, Nicolas, Thomas. So,
well, I think actually there is a legitimate shot for France, even though they really missed some opportunities. I think what you got to gamble on, though, is that Turkey will use Ionian to cover Greece. Because if you manage to go to Tyrrhenian Sea here and Turkey actually walks back, you can safely take Rome without having to cover Tunis. So you just have to make sure that Austria and Turkey don't cooperate on Naples right now. And if you manage that, you can take Rome. Potentially, depending on what gets pulled, you might even have a shot at Munich. And you are probably just about strong enough for holding what you've got in the West. And if you manage that, then you can actually win, especially with a tiebreaker. I think for Russia, it's probably over. I think it would be very surprising if Russia would bring it home from here. But I think Germany and Turkey also have a very good shot. But I think it's mainly between Germany and France, probably, I would think. But as we said, it really comes down to what Austria and England especially are doing here. If they are just trying to stay on the most centers they can, or if they're actually trying to king make somebody.
Yeah, you make a great argument for France here. So we'll see.
It's risky. It might not work. Maybe if you get really screwed, actually Ionian walks into Tunis. That would be very fun. And all of a sudden Turkey wins. But I think you got to make it make the leap of faith and try to get it to work that way.
Well, I know who the winner is, and they are waiting.
Wow. St. Petersburg got pulled, so that means that Nicolas will be on 8 centers. France could be.
Not necessarily. Moscow
Russia?
could bounce both times. There's no way to get 2 German units up there. So
I'm talking about Munich being the 8th center. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
There's 3 on it. There needs a lot of diplomacy. So
France could try to hold Russia there.
Yeah. Yes.
Let's see. All right. Here's the first set of orders as Turkey does sneak into Sevastopol. Adam, what else do you see?
So France did not make that move to the Tyrrhenian Sea, as Robert suggested. Though had they done that, there's still a Turkish fleet in the Ionian, so there would be a little bit of a guess come the fall anyway. The English take mid-Atlantic. But they retreat to Liverpool. So Portugal is gone. This is Nicolas' game right now. It looks like.
Yeah, this is game over for France. I think. Yeah, Nicolas also walking into North Sea. So it will be very hard for Nicolas to not win from this point because Russia gets knocked out of Budapest and Sèvres and no, not Munich, but they lose 2. France will lose at least 1 with Spain or Portugal. He will just have a walk into Eddie.
Probably doesn't retake Munich at this point, but it doesn't matter.
No, but he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to unless somehow something is turned around and England is very mad at him and all of a sudden doesn't take one off of France, but puts France into Belgium or something instead and lets them walk into Liverpool. That's, I think, the only option how Nicolas losing this. If Steve is saying screw you, I mean, I was helping you and now you want to take Eddie. This is what you get for it. If that's happening, okay, then not. Apart from that, I think. Is
there any chance that Austria helps Turkey win?
Possibly. I mean, maybe just for fun.
1-2, they could take Serbia and Naples, and that's enough, right?
They could, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It seemed to me that if anybody, Austria was the least mad at Russia. And when they attacked them, it was mainly because it was finally a path to growth for them. But if they want to do that, they probably could. Yeah, you're right.
But Russia doesn't allow that. If Russia hears of interference, they let Germany walk into St. Pete, right? It helps Germany back into Munich.
Yeah, maybe it's something you would have to do very secretly. It could be a case where if actually Austria and Turkey want to do that, it could be a case where in virtual you're actually writing messages for 15 minutes straight in this phase, which is a thing where actually virtual and actual face-to-face are very different because you can negotiate without anybody seeing it in virtual. You cannot really do that in actual face-to-face, at least not safely. You can hide, but people can just walk into you if you're unlucky.
All right. Well, the ending might have been spoiled. I don't know if analysts have the full view of the host. And
My screen is too small. I see that there's somebody, but I don't see who.
There it is. So the winner has entered the chat, as you would see back in the old days of AOL or whatever it was. Let's see how these orders turn out for our audience, and we see the winner will be Robert. Give us the orders.
It looks very much like Germany, Edinburgh, St. Pete. So maybe Christoph actually said, you know what, I don't care. I prefer Germany over Turkey or France. Actually, France is walking out. So they try to promote Turkey. Maybe they give them Tunis, they give Austria, Naples. So they have given up at this point. They try to get into Munich, but it doesn't work. But after all, it should put Germany at 9, and Turkey will only they lose. So they just swap Romania for Sev, and they get +1. So Turkey will be at 7. And France is losing a bunch, so they are not really relevant anymore. So this should mean that Nicolas Sauguet is our champion, isn't he?
That is what it is. My favorite part, Adam, is I want you to dissect the Austrian orders.
Beautiful.
Well, I mean, the walk into Naples was something I was okay with. But yeah, they are taking 3 centers this turn. They're going to end on 7. What a turnaround for Breok. Hats off to him.
Check in. Yeah, so with those orders here, let's get to the button. Let's see if we can get to the button here. Oops. This is how it ends. So in the end of the king making, we were able to see Austria helping out Russia to prevent Turkey. Tried to help Turkey, but then also pushed Russia into Romania while picking up 3 themselves. So while this map stops in 1907 because the winter orders, while the winter orders were not adjusted, we will see Austria finishing up at 7, which at the beginning of the game there is absolutely no way we are expecting that to happen. But that's not the biggest story. The biggest story of this game is we're gonna transition right here. We're able to say bonjour, mon ami, and félicitations. French champion for the 2022 season, Nicolas Sauguet. Congratulations.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay.
So I was trying to read the French chat room yesterday, and I took 4 years of French in high school, and some of it came back. But tell me if this is true. Was your biggest challenge of the day making sure you had internet before the game started?
Yeah, more or less my internet connection died on me 10 minutes before the start of the game. So in fact, I had to bike to the university where I am right now to play the game in my office, because I think my internet connection came back in the afternoon. So yeah, they were nice enough to wait half an hour for me to. Maybe it was a mistake, their biggest mistake of the day.
So your diplomacy worked from before the first orders were even written down. But
exactly, and there was a foot of snow in Montreal on Friday and Saturday, so also just the streets were still snowy. So it was kind of a fun adventure to bike from my house to the university.
Well, you made it. So we don't know a ton about the league. I know we cover it a little bit. Tell us what the feeling was leading up to the top board. Is there the same kind of rivalry as kind of the American diplomacy hobby that we talk about more here than there? What was the occasion heading into the board?
No, I mean, so the league this year was a bit less. We organized fewer games. And so it's more like a friendly meeting of players. We play when we can, and then the top board is more like, let's try to see, let's organize an interesting top board where everybody's fighting, and it's more like an interesting game, like a really competitive event that's going to be a big prize or big for the winner. So it was more like 7 good players, just meeting on a Sunday to have a interesting competitive game.
One last one I'll ask before I give the analysts the chance here is the draw is random, not Paris method like we see again on our broadcast a lot. Was there any reaction after the random selection was drawn? Someone got a better selection? Neighbors who like each other or don't like each other were next to each other? What was the feeling like after the powers were picked?
Not so many reaction. I think Lei in Italy was not very happy. I don't know if he doesn't like Italy or he didn't really like his neighbors. And I was also not super happy because, I like the country, Germany, but Steve and Loic have been playing a lot of games. And so I was a bit afraid that they would work together against me. And in fact, that's kind of what happened. So, but other than that, you pick a country and then you try to do your best with what the random generation gave you.
So Nicola, one of the things we've seen from you in a lot of games, top boards and other games, is this sort of long, sort of flat trajectory that ultimately goes to a crazy gain towards the end of the game, where your timing is just impeccable towards winning these games. I'm curious, in this particular one, what was going through your head around the timing, and were you getting nervous as it was sort of getting there, and you had a big France and a big Germany, a big France and a big Russia, and you needed to make your move? How did you approach that, and how did you get the timing so perfect as you always do?
So it's true that this 1907 games timing is really crucial, and experience, is maybe what's needed to make the right move. Here, I think if you looked at the game in 1905, I got stabbed by England. I thought that I had him on board, and so after that, it was kind of luck that things went the right way, because it could have my game could have ended there. I think the crucial move is when he stabbed me, I managed to bounce him out of Holland, and I think if he takes Holland, then he plays for the win, and I'm done. Either Russia or France. Maybe England is going to win. But given that I bounced him, then I told him, you ruined my game in 1901. You try to ruin it again now for nothing, for no reason. And so I kind of guilted him into backing off and working for me or with me. And I know Steve he likes to do things in a game. And so when he couldn't win anymore, I think he decided, I want to have fun and I want to do things. And I think I managed to take advantage of that. And I was a bit also, we didn't think that I would be in the North Sea. We thought that there would be a bounce there. So, taking Edinburgh was kind of a nice bonus. And then I was not sure that I would get St. Petersburg, because I think Steve just thought Christophe would keep bouncing me there. And so, even the last turn, I thought, okay, if they want to make Turkey win, there is a path. So the good thing is I knew I had the tiebreak on Thomas, who was playing Turkey. I was ranked 6th, so I had the tiebreak on nobody else, but I had the tiebreak on Turkey, so I was a bit more relaxed. And then I had a kind of a long talk with Christophe the last season. And he basically told me, no, I'm not going to give away centers, and I'm not defending St. Petersburg. So I think he wanted to make Austria win, because he thought that he has played such a great game. It would be such a fantastic story. That's what they tried to do. But when they realized that it was not possible, then they were okay with me topping the board. But Austria played such a fantastic game. That's I think I'm a bit ashamed of topping this board, while I think he deserved all the credit. This was now I know that DBNI is doing these Hammer Awards, think there should be a Hammer Award for the most dangerous players with 2 centers, and I think Brieux for next year could be a candidate. I think we saw some good play on DBN this last year also. People fighting from a position of weakness, but I think it's an award I would like to see next year.
Absolutely. And Robert, as we kept pressuring Robert to say, will Austria get there? Will Austria get there? And Robert had faith, but maybe 1 more year's time would have beaten him to the beaten you in the race. So I think one more was any of the conversation public? Do you guys use Discord for your negotiations?
Yeah, we use Discord. So it's exactly the same way as VDL. It's just we use the French website Diplomania for the moves instead of Backstabber. But other than that, it's exactly the same organization.
So then the main chat channel where everyone gathers during the adjudications, was there any public discussion of trying to favor you or someone else for the win in that fall 1907?
Not really. There wasn't really a public. People were not really talking about that in the public channel. I think some people were telling Steve in England that he had been a bit too generous with me. But other than that, I think if you want to give something to someone, you'd better stay a little bit discreet, so that at least there is an element of surprise, and I don't try to go for 1 more center, because if I was not sure that I would win with 9, maybe I had to go and try to risk and go for Munich, because I thought maybe if I go for Munich with 3, there is a chance I get it, but there is also a chance that they are very smart. They double support Munich, and Munich supports Silesia to Berlin, and I can lose 1. And so if there is a risk, then I have to take a risk. But if I thought that 9 would be more than enough, then I didn't want to take any risk, and I prefer to support Belgium. You never know. Maybe they got to Steve, and then Steve is going to change his mind at the last second. So once I realized, okay, I should have 9, 8 for sure, then let's not try to be fancy and get to 10 if I'm sure that I can stay at 9 and win this ball.
Guys, any last ones? I got one more before we wrap up, but anything last on the game?
I think it's a great symbol that you had internet cut out in the beginning and then had to bike through the snow. That really feels like the story of your game. I mean, I'm sure when you saw no Fleet Brest, no Fleet London, 2 armies from France, that kind of felt like the internet went out again, or somebody pulled the plug for you. So great job bouncing back. I'm sure there was some diplomacy needed as well when you got actually F and E to turn around the first time, when you sort of turned it into a Western triple for a short time.
Yeah, I think it's just Steve orders I think it was in 1902 were not totally optimal, and then France, when they saw that England was not playing that effectively, then they decided, let me change gear, let's take Belgium and let's attack England, and so that was more like, I think, you need to find someone to defend against, and I decided I needed to defend against England. So I made sure that Russia took Norway, and that I couldn't really make progress against me. And after that, I think maybe France was a bit impatient and immediately stabbed England. And then after that, I think I knew I was in contention for trying something, but when Austria and Italy disappear so quickly, Russia and Turkey had such a great position that after that, it was kind of I had to do some balancing of power acts all over the place to stay within reach of the leaders, and it's never easy because I was getting along well with Christophe, but I had to stop him because otherwise, and then I was getting along well with Loic in France, but I had to do something against him also. So yeah, it's a type of game where balance of power is very important to
Did you have any hand
contention.
in this Russian attack on Turkey in 1904?
No, this I cannot claim any responsibility, and I think that helped me quite a bit also, because if they had kept going, I think one of them would have probably won the game.
Yeah, as I say, I knew you had won because we had obviously set up you joining us, but I had no idea how you had gotten there until we saw it. But when I saw this set of orders, this was going to be the breaking point. And it was an excellent, well-played game. Doug Moore always says, where are you going to get to your sixth build? And it took you a little longer than he normally likes to get, but you got to 6, stayed there, played patient, and ran away at the end. So last question from DBN is, what are you looking forward to now with DBNI around the corner?
I don't know. I haven't played much virtual in the past year, and this is my first game in quite a while. So I don't know. It's maybe playing without pressure is also something that's really good. I'm teaching right now, and I've been working quite a lot. So I just went to the game without too much hope or too much pressure on myself. Maybe that's the right attitude. And so if I'm going to play DBNI, maybe the same attitude, going there and doing my best is without putting too much pressure on myself is the right way to go.
You're instantly going to be one of the favorites, so good luck.
Yeah, but that I'm used to, so yeah, But I think there are quite a lot of favorites this year, so I'm not alone, and so as long as there are 2 other favorites on the board, you can diffuse a little bit.
Well, not many have the pedigree of a face-to-face world champ, an online virtual diplomacy champ, and now current French League champ. So again, congratulations on a well-played game, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
All right, let's let him get back to riding his bike in the snow. I kid you not, I was on the channel just trying to get some background for lead up, and my translation, I didn't use the free Google Translate or whatever. I saw some of that, and there were a couple of references to merde, which I know to be a word I cannot say on broadcast TV here in America. So I'll hopefully YouTube doesn't have any translations as well. But excellent to have to go through. And sometimes when you're thrown off your game, he said no pressure, but when you're under stress, trying to get to a new location, it certainly showed how he deserved that championship. Mm-hmm. So. Let's get some final thoughts. Let's see if I can get rid of that and let you guys say. Adam, clearly a proven champion before. He did it again. What's your overall take on the game?
French hobby's doing well. If this is representative of what kind of games we're going to see from them. So, I'm hoping that at World DipCons and other events, I'll start bumping into these fellas. It looks like a really fun time. So.
Yeah, Robert, same way. It's just a representation of good league play as well. Other than Nicolas, is this the Fighting French with the all around play in the board? How they work together and then all of a sudden pull out the knives?
I mean, I think it was absolutely a great cast of players. It was very apparent that not just Nicolas Sauguet, but actually all 7 are great players. Very high quality play. And yeah, great job. Nicolas was just that little bit better than the others and had a bit of luck in the end. And that's what you got to do to top that board. We mentioned it that you have to be tactical and defensive for a while, and then you can turn around things diplomatically if it goes well. And he did exactly that. So kudos to him, and congratulations on a very deserved victory, I guess.
Excellent. Well, Robert, I know you'll be helping us on the VDL broadcast coming up as well. Adam, you're a regular league night participant. What are you looking forward to in the top game?
I think it's just going to be an exciting game. I mean, I think this one is, is it going to go the distance? to 1910, 1911, whenever they sort of cut those things off. I would probably be surprised if not. I think we're going to see a similar cautious game to get started, and then things are going to go on rails, and it's going to get very exciting. So I'm sorry I'm going to miss it for the coverage, but I'm really looking forward to following it and hearing all the sideline commentary and the analysis. That's always great here.
Yeah, Robert, fellow online European player, defending VDL champion Nicolas Tallet, another French. The French seem to be winning a lot recently. What do you think on the chances of repeat? I won't put you to the spot to pick one, but is he going to have the target on his back?
He probably will, but there are a couple of players who will have a target, like Brandon, for example, or Timothy. Crosby has just won Tough Britain, and Katie Gray has won a tournament this year, and so on. But the thing, no, is Katie actually on the board? You're putting me on the spot here. Maybe she.
No, that's why I say Nicolas or the field. I didn't have the.
Nicolas, actually, as a matter of fact, I heard that Nicolas hasn't been playing much lately either, just like his namesake, Nicolas Hauge. So maybe that's a recipe to win. Maybe he's coming with not that many expectation and a rested mind, at least in terms of diplomacy. I know he's not very well rested because of work otherwise, but maybe he comes to the game with sort of like a new hunger because he hasn't played much lately, and that could be a good thing. I could absolutely see him taking it home again.
All right. Well, we look forward to the coverage. It will be on Saturday night. We're not sure of a start time yet, but around the evening time, I'm sure around 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern, we'll get that finalized. Hopefully by the time this video airs. But we will thank you two gentlemen for your time on this broadcast. We had a great time covering the French League this season, and we look forward to doing it again in 2023. So on behalf of DBN, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.